I was not playing professionally before I joined. So I was playing anyone. I was playing with various bands. See, it became a toss-up at that period. Did you really want to know this?
Yes, I do. Yes, briefly.
Well, I ain't gonna be brief. No, the thing was that I had more money by going to work, so I stayed at work because I could never, I could never live by playing the drums. And
You're
I
playing.
joined the Stones, and I was out of work at the time, and suddenly I was always meant to get a job, you see, and suddenly we earned more money than I got at work, so that's
You were playing
basically.
jazz music or just
Yeah.
rhythm and blues or anything?
No, actually, prior to the Stones, I was actually playing what was termed rhythm and blues. Though at the time, no, when I joined the 18 months before that, 2 years before that, I'd never heard of rhythm and blues because I used to just play jazz stuff. Very badly, I might add.
How did joining the Stones come about? Who approached you, or did you approach them? Or?
Well, you see, the thing was that I was playing with a band called Alexis Corner, which is now a legend in its own right. How, I don't know, but it supposedly is. And it was one of those things where he was the first guy to get Chicago, him and Cyril Davis, who's now dead. That's the band I played with. And he was the first guy to get, people playing what was called rhythm. Well, it was Chicago blues, a copy of Chicago blues. And obviously, I knew Mick, from then. I used to play with Paul Jones, and a lot of other people. I used to play with that band because the only one going. And then Seaman took over. No, Ginger Baker took over, and then Phil Seaman did it.
Is there sufficient room within the music that the Stones play to express yourself?
Sure, it's up to you. It's not a roomy sort of music. I mean, it's not. It's. I mean, it's not. It's never been music that moves along on two chords, that you can move around a lot. No, it's not that sort of music. But then within the restrictions, there's a lot of free. That's nice. The restrictions are nice.
After so many years of touring and success too, do you still get a charge from playing on stage?
Oh yeah, that's why I do it. Really, silly, isn't it?
What is it that gives you the charge? Is it the response? Is it,
No, if you play well, or if you think you play well, that's what gives me. I'm a bit of an egotist. Really. I mean, in a funny way, I don't think I'm particularly very good, but I mean, if I think I played well, that's fun. It's fun. This is so juvenile. This whole thing is juvenile, man. It really is. It's fun. And maybe that's the spark. Maybe that's what's nice about it. What I'd like to do, I'd love to be a painter or something that I could do without moving from where I liked. But I'm not. I could never be. I don't think. And and I get such a funny thing out of doing this. So I don't know. We've been kind of spoiled, through doing this. Well, I have, in a way. It sort of spoils you. Because you earn enough bread to be blasé about certain things that were obviously a problem to other people.
Yeah. Do you fit easily into the theatrics of the stage acts and things? I know that you're tied to a drum kit.
Yeah, I'm not the first one to play theatrics, man. I mean, there's people in New York that played burlesque shows, 50 years ago, and they're much better at doing, if you play behind a line of girls that are kicking you have to play jugglers and all. That's theatrics. No, I don't play like that. Although that's kind of it. When you hit the floor, you do this, that, or the other. It's just. But I mean, there are certain people. Jimmy Crawford, for one, is one of the best drums. Joe Jones is another one. But then that's talking about drums.
Who do you most admire as a drummer today?
Nobody really. I most admire because there's so many people that I admire, and I'd hate to say that I most admire.
Yeah. Right. People like Buddy Rich come into your calculation?
Yeah, Buddy Rich as a drummer is probably the most supreme drummer that's ever lived, but he's not my favourite drummer. Although I could never I couldn't even play stock cymbal with him. He's just the finest thing as a virtuoso. I like Ainsley Dunbar. I think he's something else. He doesn't work much, but he's something else. There's a lot of people I like, as people, and I think that comes across in the way they play.
Do you think
Keltner's one. Jim Keltner, I think, is a lovely person and an excellent drummer.
Do you think that a lot of young people, particularly those who follow rock and roll glorify out of proportion instrumentalists who play within the scene?
Yeah, I think they do, only because now you're going to sound like an old man because you've got no history of anything else. But maybe that's no. Eric Clapton is a fine guitar player, the best, and Jimi Hendrix was an innovator. That's not glorification. That's just what they are. They just were that. But then after that comes a lot of other things, which is like, that's over. That's not.
Yeah, I saw a report, and it's a fairly accurate one, I think, of Miles Davis one night ringing a music critic and said, I didn't like your review of Eric Clapton's solo at all because it was note for note a B.B. King thing of 20 years ago. Do you think that's valid criticism?
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I think it's acceptable from someone like Miles Davis. Well, it's fine. That doesn't matter, And I don't think Eric would particularly, knowing Eric Clapton, would particularly deny it. I mean, I don't know if it was or not. I mean, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, no, it's only. I mean, and B.B. King is a fine guitar player.
Have you made any observations of Australia or Australians?
Australia, yeah, I hated it last time. It's quite nice this time.
What changes have you noticed that you could talk about?
Slightly more relaxed than it was when I've been here twice. First time was, I can't really remember though, it's 7 years ago. It seems a bit more relaxed, so it's okay,
And you've not seen any local music, apart from the bands who've supported you on tour, have you?
Yeah, I saw quite a good band last night somewhere, I've forgotten where it was. There's a lot of good players in this country, there are. Because they're never going to get exposed, and you could never... They're not, there's no chance at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe unless it busts. It's rather like England, I mean, you talk about a lot of players and that. I mean, England was just imitating, still does in a lot of ways, imitate Americans, and Miles Davis is right, and what he says it was the black music, and they're perfect. That's true, man. Then you get to the other thing of the way you do it. Well, England has now got a lot of exposure to it, so you get like these people that come up, David Bowie and that sort of thing. They do that bloody well, man. That's great. And I'm not saying that Izzy's particularly American or that, but I'm just saying that they've got exposure, whereas a band like David Bowie or a personality like him, here at this time, he'd never get anywhere. I don't think he would. I mean, what are you going to do, take him to Los Angeles? But because he's the same with us, and I think the Beatles broke that. That's an incredible thing about it. I think they broke that sort of enigma that I had, because even to me, even now, American players and singers are always the best. But they're not always, they overlap, but I mean, it is one of those sort of things that you have going, It is for me, but then, I'm a black American freak, because that's the music I like, primarily. That's really the music I love, which is jazz, pop, and it's black American.
Yeah.